Hi, everybody. Welcome. Thank you guys so much for being here this morning. Glad you could be here. My name is Felicia from Sweet Georgia and also the School of Sweet Georgia. Just going to wait a few seconds. I see people popping in here. Thank you guys so much for being here. Welcome. This is our first time using this particular function, so we're really excited to get started. But yeah, I have a whole bunch of things that I want to share with you guys today about the new Sweet Georgia community that we are building here, and want to show you a little bit around this space. This is a moment in time where I welcome you guys to also ask questions. If you have questions, please feel free to, ask. There's a Q&A function. If you look down at the bottom of your screen, there's a Q&A function. And there's also a little chat function. So, hi, everybody. Nice to see you guys in the chat. Welcome. Thanks so much for being here. And we'll just give it a couple of seconds because I can see people still sort of popping into the guest list here. Fantastic. Thank you guys so much for showing up today to chat about this. And I am excited to share more with you guys. So let me go straight to what we're going to do. And that is I'm going to share with you a few sort of slides and pictures of what we have going on. Hopefully everybody can see that. I'm going to move this out of the way. And I'm going to have my chat on so I can see if anybody has any questions. Q&A is turned off. Oh, here, I can enable Q&A right now. There you go. You are more than welcome to ask questions in there as well. And then I will try to answer them when I get to the end of all of these things. So I'll keep my eye on the chat as we go as well. But thank you guys so much for being here today. So what is all of this about? We have basically created a new space. We have been experimenting with creating a new space for probably several months now, probably since January, we've been working on this. So it's been several months now. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about, how this community evolved and where it kind of came from and all these kinds of ideas and things like that. But I also want to take this time today to sort of explain to you, because many of you are members of the School of Sweet Georgia. I want to explain to you sort of what the difference is between the two, how one is not replacing the other, but they're going to coexist together, and how it's sort of like an extension of what we're doing in the school. And then also walk you through some of the functions inside the community, so you can kind of have a look at it if it's the first time you're seeing it, or if you haven't really had a chance to go through any of the functions. So we can look a little bit at that. And one of the functions that you're experiencing right now is the live stream function that they have built into this new community platform. So we're using that for the first time and giving that a try. And then I also want to explain a little bit about the timeline and how we want to go about implementing this alongside all the other things we're doing, and how that we will eventually sunset the Discord community that we were building for the past sort of 2 years. And so we're going to talk about sort of why we're making this big move, and why we're making this transition. And is really, a lot of this is about trying to create a more organized space for people, a space that is easier to communicate, and a space that will provide a better experience for everybody working with it. And so I'll show you a little bit about why that's all going to happen. So yeah, feel free to message, ask questions during all of this as we go along. So here, if you guys joined me on the live office hours last week, I talked a little bit about this, about sort of where our community came from and how it developed and all these things over the past 20 years. And so initially, when I first started Sweet Georgia, it was a blog that I started in 2004. And really during that time, I was discovering a lot of knitting blogs, and I think everybody else was kind of discovering knitting blogs. And that's kind of how we all found each other, is that people were knitting, people were posting about their knitting online, and then we would go to their blogs and then read their blogs. And I remember during that time, I'd spend several hours every morning going around and reading everybody's blog and then leaving comments on everybody's blog. And people would leave comments on my blog. And we were meeting people and meeting this community of people who were interested in knitting through comments that were left on blog posts. But then, things change, technology changes, times change. And in 2007, Ravelry was founded, and a lot of community and conversation moved to Ravelry, right? And so a lot of discussion forums and groups started sprouting up on Ravelry. And we had a Ravelry group at the time that I didn't found, because I was kind of like dipping my toe into Ravelry. And so another fan of Sweet Georgia was so excited about Ravelry and our company that she created a discussion forum and a group for us in Ravelry. And I don't know if she's even in Ravelry anymore, but she created the group and then she gave it to us. And then we have this group now. And then you can see in 2012, we published our first YouTube video. So I think I signed up for YouTube in 2009 and hadn't published anything. And then finally published my first video on YouTube. And it was made with the webcam on my camera and no microphone. So there was no audio, or very, very limited audio on that particular video. But again, started to kind of like receive comments. And for a long time now, we've discovered that a lot of the community and the conversation around the things that we create are in the comments of YouTube videos. So that's really interesting to us as well. And then in 2013, you'll know that I had my first baby in 2013. And so at that particular time, I asked somebody to help us redesign the Sweet Georgia website, because it was growing and it was doing all sorts of things. And it was also a shop, and it was also all of these things all at the same time. And so I asked for help in 2013 because I was like, I have this new baby and I can't do this right now. Can someone help me? And so I hired a firm to come and help me. But they really gave me the advice that people don't read blogs anymore. People don't go to websites. People really go to Facebook, people go to all these other social media places. And so then we started to like spread out into all these other areas, and looking at Facebook and looking at Instagram and looking at all these social media platforms and all the stuff everywhere. And then in 2017, about a year after I had my second baby, I founded the School of Sweet Georgia. And so that is a place that is designed for very deep learning, deep involvement in courses, learning from experts who have been doing this for a long, long time, and then being able to provide really close up, in-depth video instruction so that you can kind of like look over their shoulders and learn from these people who are doing such incredible and amazing work. So just really being able to get access to good teaching. And then there is a community function that is built into the school that we call the SOS forums, or the SOS community. And a lot of deep learning is happening in there. But we received sort of feedback after starting the school, and after people saw all of the activity that was in the SOS forums, people who were not in the school but were interested in doing like make-alongs and knitting along with Sweet Georgia and doing things like that, they were feeling a little bit left out. And so we wanted to create a space for that. And at the time, you know, there was challenges with Ravelry and things like that. And so we decided to start a bit of an experiment with using Discord as a technology platform for delivering a community experience. And so we've been working with Discord for the past 2 years, 2 and a bit years. Yeah, about 2.5 years now, working on that. And it was a sort of after that experience of working with Discord for the past 2.5 years that we decided to build a new platform space. And it is built on a platform called circle.so, if you want to have a look at that. And a lot of communities are being built on that. And the technology that is involved in that one is great. So we love it. And so this is what we're trying to build right now. So I'm going to share with you a few of the sort of challenges that we've had with all of these various different platforms and places that we were trying to do community in the past. And so, like I mentioned, you know, a lot of this is very fractured. A lot of our community is very fractured because everybody's in all different places doing different things. And so, like we were advised that people don't really read websites, or they don't go to blogs and just sit there and read and then leave comments. That's like not a thing that people do anymore. So we still have this website, but we're trying to sort of like make sure that people are getting the information that they want and they need in the place that they want it. And so we were advised, oh, put links to all of the things that you post through social media like Facebook and things like that. But again, you know, we're discovering through Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, all of the places where we post things, there's so much that's controlled right now by algorithms. And so very often you're not even seeing the things that you want to see. You're seeing things that are being suggested to you, possibly by people that you don't necessarily even follow. And then the things that you are seeing are often filled with ads, and there's a lot of ads going on, things like that. And we had challenges with accessibility on Ravelry for many of our customers and things like that. And with Discord, a lot of the challenges that we had were around spam. And because it was a free and open public platform, anybody could join. And we were finding that we were very, more than just occasionally, we were having to deal with spam, having to deal with spammers, and it just causing sort of like a disruptive experience for people who were in the forums. So I know all of our Discord members were very patient and were very showed us a lot of grace around all of that. But I know it can be a bit of a frustrating experience to have your chat being disrupted by spammers and things like that coming in. There's also a sense of being very overwhelmed with how much conversation happens on Discord, and it moves very, very rapidly because it's like having a big chat group, and there can often be multiple conversations happening sort of at the same time in Discord. And for some people, that's totally fine. They can figure out, like which conversations they're part of, which ones they're going to ignore, but it can be a lot to sort of to process. And so I was given, I went to H&H a couple of weeks ago, and I went to a whole discussion panel listening to people who were using Discord for their community spaces. And there are definitely different ways to approach how to use something like Discord. You can sort of pop in and just read what happens to be showing up on your screen and ignore every sort of conversation that's happened while you weren't there. There's different ways of doing it, or you can go through and read everything. So there's different ways to interact with that. But I think that for our community, we wanted something that was a little bit more, less overwhelming and a little bit more organized. And so that's what we were starting to look at. I mentioned those algorithm issues, and we had tried to navigate a lot of those algorithm issues by starting a whole second YouTube channel specifically for weaving. And I know that I talked about that in the fall, and that's why I posted this little picture of weaving on the slide here, because we wanted a space to be able to talk about weaving, and we wanted it to reach the people who wanted to find it. But even creating a second YouTube channel that's specifically for weaving, you still have to start from scratch and start from zero and make content for people who aren't necessarily going to see it. And so that whole cycle is also a bit of a struggle. And so what we are trying to do is create something new here. And so I'll tell you a little bit about like who we wanted to create this for. We wanted to create a space that is for people who are inspired by a lot of the things that we do. We are creating stuff on YouTube, we are creating patterns, we're creating yarns and colors, and we're putting them together, we're creating projects, we're doing all these things. And we would love to be able to be in community with people who are interested in the things that we're making, who are inspired by what we're doing, what we're creating here, and are sort of motivated to now make something. So I posted this picture of the crochet granny squares that I did for my Jethro cardigan, because a number of people did watch the videos that we made on YouTube for this cardigan, which is designed by Tanis Lavallee, Tanis Fiber Arts. And it's a fantastic pattern, and I made this thing, and it was fun, and it was beautiful, and I showed different color combinations, and it inspired many of you guys to also go and make a Jethro cardigan too. And it would be cool and fun to be able to do this and chat about it and meet people who are doing it, rather than just after the fact seeing that, oh, you posted this thing on Instagram, and that's great. But it would be nice to be able to meet and connect with people who are also doing these things together. So that's one idea, is for people who are inspired and wanting to make some of the things that we are making. It is definitely for someone who is multi-craftual. And I know chatting with many of you guys here in the chat here that you've all expressed that you not only knit, but you also spin, you're also interested in fiber prep. Maybe you're also interested in weaving. Maybe you're also curious about crochet, like whatever it is, it's a mix and blend of multiple crafts. And one of the things that we always kind of talk about is like, if you're knitting right now and you meet a whole group of knitters and then you become curious about spinning, then you have to go somewhere else to all of a sudden meet other spinners. And so it's constantly like leaving and finding new communities. Whereas we're already a community of people who like multiple things. So we can just be in this one and stay in this one community and just express the fact that we like multiple crafts. And we might not all like the same crafts, but there's this multiple craft thing going on. And so the new platform for the community is something that can definitely facilitate and support these multiple crafts without you having to do all of the things. And you can very much customize what you want to look at. The other idea is someone who is evolving. So this is definitely for someone who's kind of on this lifelong journey of making things. So you might, start in one place and then go to another craft and go to another craft, and then maybe go to the school and learn in depth more skills for another particular craft that you're doing. And then you're going to come back and you're going to implement and you're going to practice and you're going to become better. And so there's sort of like an evolution of someone who's like a maker who then becomes really inspired and is making a lot of things, becomes almost a mentor to others because you are inspiring others through the things that you make and you share. And then the more you do it, the more you become masterful at it. Using the word master is kind of tricky because master is like designated for a lot of people who've gone through sort of rigorous testing and sort of judging panels and things like that. So that's a tricky thing, but it's the idea of becoming very, very, very skilled at what you're doing and being able to share that with other people, either through teaching or mentoring or guiding or just sharing and inspiring. So somebody who is definitely evolving. And yeah, this is something that you come to learn. I recently heard about how quilters start quilting in their late 30s, but prior to quilting, they will have spent approximately 22 years sewing garments before they get to the point where they're quilting. And so it's somebody who's like learned to sew as a teenager, maybe in high school, and then sewing garments through their 20s and then early 30s, and then becoming somebody who then picks up quilting later on in life. And so it's very similar to a journey through the fiber arts and with yarn, right? So you might have started with crochet and knitting and working with yarn, and then yarn gets you curious about where did yarn come from. So then you learn how to spin. Spinning makes tons of yarn, and then you start to get into weaving. There's a little bit of a trajectory around all of that. And so we would love to be able to support that entire journey. So the new space that we created, we are going to call SweetGeorgia Community, to make it very, very straightforward. But it is a kind of place where we are trying to craft this very, very organized, but very vibrant space where everybody can come and learn and grow and share together. I put these circles because these are kind of like overlapping circles meant to show all of the different crafts, but how they do overlap and how they do mix and blend and combine with each other. And they all affect each other. And so I'm hoping that this is going to be like a really great space for everybody to come and feel welcome in, feel like they belong to. And so I'll show you a little bit about what I thought the journey kind of looks like. And so I have this little road metaphor. This is your journey. This is your path. And you're moving around this whole path. And it's very circuitous. You might like go in these circles for a bit. You might, be traveling same kind of road anywhere. But yes, you're traveling along this road and maybe you've discovered that SweetGeorgia has yarn. And so we make hand-dyed yarn. And so maybe you've discovered our yarn and you're knitting and you're crocheting. And then maybe you've discovered that we also have hand-dyed spinning fiber. And so then maybe you're spinning with our fiber. And then maybe you're discovering that we also do make-alongs, and we have been doing a winterful weave-along. In November, we do a fiber prep February. We've done tour de fleece. We do knitting knit-alongs throughout the year and things like that. So we've been doing some of these make-alongs hosted in the past in these various places. And our hope is that the new community will host a lot of these make-alongs and all of this kind of activity. And then maybe you're in a mode where you have come to want to really learn, go in depth, and all of a sudden you're I want to learn weaving and you need to learn weave structures, or you're learning how to spin or want to go more in depth into something like that, then that is definitely where the School of Sweet Georgia is. And then the more and more you learn and you practice and you implement the things that you're doing, perhaps you get to the point where you are mentoring others or giving help and feedback and advice. And maybe in the future, you might consider doing something like helping lead a study group or being part of like taking more of a leadership role in that space and becoming a mentor there. Maybe you've become so good at the thing that you do that you would like to teach a class or a workshop. That might be something that's in your future. And then even just showing what you do, creating things and sharing those with others is also part of the journey. So like making things together, becoming really good, becoming sort of very skilled at what you're doing, and then being able to share that with others. That's definitely what we want to support. And so the community idea is that the community kind of supports this whole journey wherever you want to be at, and how you can connect with others who are also trying to do the same thing. So that's kind of my picture of what it looks like. Now, to kind of compare what's the difference between the Sweet Georgia Community and the School of Sweet Georgia, this is like my little chart here. And so both spaces do have discussions. They will have chat functions. They're different style. So the Sweet Georgia Community discussions, I'll show you in a bit, but the School of Sweet Georgia also has their very, very in-depth discussion forums, where that is the place where you can connect with the SOS instructors. You can ask questions there. Study group conversations are hosted on the School of Sweet Georgia as well. So there's that. And then events and meetups, they are going to both have events and meetups, and they are right now going to be structured a little bit differently. So I'll show you what the events are that we're going to do for the Sweet Georgia Community as well. But they're going to be available for both as well. And then patterns and projects. We have patterns that we always post in the School of Sweet Georgia, and some of those patterns will become available in the Sweet Georgia Community. And we're going to have them on sort of a rotating basis. So there's a section in the Sweet Georgia Community where you can go and you can download patterns that we've made available for the members there. And those will be rotating. So like maybe every month or every couple months, we'll swap them out with different patterns and projects and things like that to make available for you guys. But the School of Sweet Georgia will have it has and will continue to have a ton of patterns available for all the members there. The make-alongs as well, the School of Sweet Georgia and the Sweet Georgia Community, we're both doing make-alongs. So a make-along, like the next one that we're doing, is the Tour de Fleece in July. So that is spinning. We're going to be spinning together. We're going to obviously have all that conversation happening in the Sweet Georgia Community. If you want, you can also talk about that in the school, but the main conversation will happen in the community space. And so the idea is that anybody who's in the school will have access to the Sweet Georgia Community space, and then you can get access to everything that we're doing there. And then for the School of Sweet Georgia, the main things that the school has that the community won't necessarily have is that the school has all of the content, the course content, has the courses, the video courses, the workshops, the in-depth study groups, the learning paths, all of the learning side of things. The structured learning is happening in the school. And so I look at the community as more like a peer-supported space where if you have a question, another member can kind of chime in and help you out with that sort of question. And then you kind of help each other and support each other. But any sort of in-depth structured learning that is around the courses and the courses that we're teaching with the instructors is going to happen on the school side of things. And so that's kind of how I have it split here. Now, this is sort of like a snapshot of what the community looks like on desktop. This is through a website here. It also has a desktop app now, and you'll see that there are mobile device apps. So there's a mobile app for iOS that you can get on your iPhone, and there's also one for iPad, and there's an app for Android as well. So you can access it in all of these different ways. So please feel free to ask questions. If you have any questions, I'm going to check in here. No. And then otherwise, I'll show you a little bit about sort of the inside of all of these sections. So when you first join the community, you're going to sort of come back to this space, which is called the feed, or you can click it at home and you'll get this space where it shows you kind of like a big picture of everything that's going on inside the community. So this feed is going to show you all sorts of the new posts that are in the spaces that you have joined that you want to see. So the idea here is that when you come in here, you can choose which crafts you are actually interested in. So maybe you are a crocheter and a spinner. Then what you're going to see in the feed is just the posts that relate to crochet and spinning. You can see anything that's been posted by anybody else who's in those particular sections. So if you're not interested, say, in weaving and you're not part of that group, you don't necessarily have to see any of that stuff in your feed unless you go to that weaving group and then you join that space. So we are leaving this open where you can see all of the spaces that are available. You can see all of the crafts that are available, but you don't necessarily have to join them to have those show up in your feed. But otherwise, the things that are going to show up in your feed are hopefully like the upcoming events that are going to be coming up, the things that are what's new, and things like that. So yes, so hopefully your feed is basically just showing you the things that you want to see. There is a community chat function that's very, very similar to the way that Discord operates. So it's just real-time chat. But you can chat sort of in threads. So if somebody has posted something like this particular question, you can actually reply in a thread as opposed to just having a big long stream of text messages or like kind of direct messages going back and forth. So this is also a way to have that real-time chat, but also in a more organized way where all of the conversations around one particular question can be done in a thread, and then you can just read that particular thread rather than going to see all of the messages all split up. So that's one way that we are changing the way chat works. The what's new area is basically going to show, the new podcast episodes that we have coming out, any new YouTube videos that we have coming out. We'll announce those in there. This will also be the space where we announce new yarn, new fiber, new colorways. We do new colors basically twice a year. Every year they're seasonal. And we also have new yarn products that come out. And so when all those things come out, then this is the place where we would share those and anything that's happening inside the studio. So any kind of like news that we have, we are going to be putting into this space. Then in terms of events, this is how they kind of work in this community space. So say tonight we have at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we're going to have the Multi-Craftual meetup. Right now, because we're just introducing this, we're still hosting that particular meetup on Zoom. And so if you click on this, it will give you the link to the Zoom meeting that we're going to be meeting at. And so, yeah, you can definitely join that if you would like to tonight. But starting in July, we're going to have that particular meeting hosted within this community platform in basically what looks like a Zoom room, but it's called a live room. And so that's how we're going to do that. The live stream for Taking Back Friday, which is our YouTube live stream, again, this is a virtual thing. If you click on this, it will link you straight to YouTube to go watch that particular live stream. We're also showing our in-person events here. So this is our Knit in Public Day at the SweetGeorgia studio in Vancouver. So if you happen to be there in Vancouver, you can definitely join us for that. And then we're going to do this kind of a session. This is a new thing that we're going to do within the SweetGeorgia community. And so you can see it is set up as a live room. And so when you join, it will look like a Zoom room, like a Zoom meeting where everybody's faces are there. It will get recorded and it will get automatically reposted and everything. But these sessions are going to be sessions where we're going to do like a little bit of designing as a group. And so for this particular one, we are going to do some color combinations and picking colors, looking at color palettes, looking at different color swatches and ideas for the upcoming stranded sweater knit along that's going to be happening starting in August. So in August, we're going to do a sweater knit along. We're knitting one of two stranded sweater patterns that we have coming out in the School of SweetGeorgia. And we're going to look at different ways that we can make some color combinations for those particular sweaters. So we're going to do that in a Zoom room on that day, or live room here. So those are some of the kinds of events that we're going to be running in here at the moment. We're going to move that multi-craftual meetup into this space. Yeah, so we're looking forward to using this space for that. And hopefully everybody will find that it works almost exactly the same way as Zoom. You can share slides as I'm doing now. You can have discussion or chat as well. There's Q&A. There's lots of different ways that we can hopefully use this. As well, we wanted to host our make-alongs within this space. So in the past, we had posted make-alongs in Ravelry. We had done make-alongs in the school forums. We've just done make-alongs in Discord. And so we're going to move it to this space here where we can keep all of the communication organized in a really clear way where hopefully everybody can see what's going on. So if you're going to participate in the Tour de Fleece, which starts on July 5th, then if you scroll down to the bottom of this particular post, you will be able to like add comments and show your progress. And so we're hoping that all of the discussion around the Tour de Fleece can happen in this one particular post and one particular thread. And so that will be really, really helpful to anybody who's wanting to follow along with what's going on with Tour de Fleece. You can see everything just by clicking on this one make-along tab. And we have other make-alongs that are coming along later on this year. So we have in August, we have the sweater knit along, like I mentioned. In October, we have Socktober as well. And then in November, we have the Winterful Weave Along this year, which is going to be about weaving stripes and plaids. So those are all coming. And then the last thing in their space here is the SweetGeorgia Secret Stash Club. So the Secret Stash Club is the monthly yarn club where we create a new colorway every month, and we send these out as kind of like a mystery. It's a secret thing that happens, and you receive it at your doorstep, and you open it up, and then it's a new colorway that you've never seen before. So we are posting these colorways for both the yarn and the fiber here in this space. And my hope is that we'll be able to see some of the things that people have made from these colorways and these yarns. Because I know I have seen you guys making things with the deliveries. And yeah, if you do post what you've made in this particular space, it would be really, really great to see, what you made with the breathing underwater yarn and things like that. So that's where all of that is housed. And so the whole idea is hopefully create a space that is inspiring, that gives a lot of ideas, that might motivate people to also make some new things with the yarns that they have. Now, like I mentioned before, you can choose your own adventure here. You can choose your own crafts that you are involved in. So if you come down to this choose your craft section, this is where you want to click one of these links to add this to your space. And you can add all of them if you want. You can add just one of them if you want. You can just add just the ones that you're interested in. And that will add you to the space and allow you to see all of the posts in your feed for that particular space. Finally, if you scroll down the sidebar a little bit, you will see that there's a section called the SweetGeorgia Showcase. And so this is where we're hoping everybody will post their finished objects. So if there's a finished object that you made with either a SweetGeorgia yarn or a fiber or a pattern, we would love to see what you created with all of that. And so I just have an example post here of the Alpine Bloom sweater that I made. And so that one was made with our hand-dyed yarn, hand-dyed fiber, and then I spun that and then used a Caitlin Hunter pattern to knit a sweater out of that. And so again, there's another post here, Weekday Tea by Amy Scher, but this one was knit with Trifecta yarn from SweetGeorgia. And so we're hoping to sort of collect this nice gallery of work that you guys have all created, and it will serve as inspiration for all of us. The other thing that we're wanting to do and to make the other thing that we're wanting to do is to create more of these color palettes for everyone. We do a lot of work at the studio creating color combinations. Anita will very often be making color combinations for customers as well and sending out suggestions over email. There's a lot of color palette creation happening at the studio. And we don't always share a ton of that. And so this is something that I'd like to be able to show more of, because we have this whole color system. We have all these colors. All the colors work together really, really well, and wanting to be able to show more of like how these colors go together in various combinations, depending on if you want to knit a sweater, or if you want to knit a shawl. Do you want to knit a shawl that takes 3 colors? Which colors should I pick? I need to make a shawl with 5 colors. Which colors do I pick? And so we have lots and lots of inspiration to pull from. So we're going to be making more of these ideas and more of these color palettes to share as well in the future. Finally, like I mentioned, there is the pattern library that's going to be sort of refreshed every so often. And so we have some patterns here that are available for the community members to come and download and make. And so hopefully you guys will have a bit of a starting place with some of these patterns and projects. And then we are sort of putting together and organizing a space for the various video tutorials that we've done. So we have done a lot of YouTube videos with tutorials in them. Some of our YouTube videos are more like vloggy talking style, and then other YouTube videos are tutorial videos. And so we are pulling out the links to all the tutorial videos, and we're going to start posting them in here, and they will all be categorized under the craft so that you can find exactly what it is that you need to find. So if you're only interested in, say, like the weaving tutorial videos, and if you click there, then in the future you will see just the weaving tutorial videos. And then if you're interested in just the CSM videos, then those will be there. All of these things, they were available on YouTube, but it's very difficult to sometimes find all of that information. And so we're hoping to put it here so that it's easier for you to sort and find the information that you need. This is also searchable. The community, when you use this little search bar, it should make things very, very easy to search. So if you search for something, it will show you the comments that have come up with that term, all the posts that have that term, all of the tutorial videos that have that term. So hopefully it's a lot easier to find information in this space later on. Yes. And then this is probably very tiny. You might not be able to see it, but if you click on events in this upper menu bar up here, you'll be able to see like a big picture overview of all of the events that are happening throughout the month. So this is for the month of June. You can kind of see how it is laying out, and you can also see the beginning of July in here as well. So this is sort of like a big picture of how things are happening. And as we see how the event functions in this space, we will look at like moving various events. We would like to be able to consolidate all of our events into one particular location. Right now, you will know that we have some events on Zoom, we have some events on Google Meet, we have some events on YouTube, we have some events here. So it would be nice for us to be able to consolidate all to one space rather than being spread out in all these different technologies. And then finally, there is a little bit of a leaderboard. So if you click on the menu bar, there is a function that says leaderboard, and it does show like you get points for every time you like or sort of encourage somebody else inside the community. And so as you get points, you will sort of unlock various benefits and things like that. So you'll unlock discount codes, you unlock extra special spaces that you are only available to certain people. So there's a whole bunch of things that are in there. And so that information is the welcome checklist, and you'll be able to see that in one of the lessons there. And it shows you all of the explanation of the points that you can get and what you can get for the points. And like I mentioned, we do have an app. So the community can be accessed through the website. The website is going to be community.sweetgeorgiayarns.com. And so if you go there right now, it'll just ask you to sign in. There's also a desktop app that's right now in beta. I'm using the desktop app, and it works just exactly like the website. It's really, really great. And then there's also a mobile app version for the iOS and Android. But you'll see that when you use the mobile app, it looks different than the website. So it doesn't have the fonts that we use. There's some features that are a little bit more limited on the app, but the app is like a really, really great way to just answer messages really quickly, to kind of like scroll through notifications really quickly. It functions really great, but things like writing posts and uploading photos are probably better done on a desktop at this time. And this platform is under very like rapid development. So you'll see like every month they have new features that are coming out. They're constantly building things. So really, really excited to see where this platform goes in the future. But this is where we are starting. So right now, if you are a member of the school, you can already get access to the community, and it is included. The cost of the community is included as part of your SOS membership. So if you go to the school, you can just log in to the school with your school account, and then go to schoolofsweetgeorgia.com/circle. And there will be a link there where you can click that, and it will send you to the community and sign you up there. So that is for all of the SOS members. And then for all of the people who have not yet joined the school, there is going to be a monthly plan and an annual plan. And I'm showing this right now in Canadian dollars. It would be $7 Canadian per month, or 75 Canadian per year for the Sweet Georgia community, just the community, what we're working in right now, just the community side of things, no classes, just the community features. And then if you compare that with the school, there's two different options for the school. You can get the all access membership for the school, where you just get access to all of the courses, or we have these like specific craft focused memberships for spinning, for weaving, and for knitting and crochet. And so if you want to get one of those, then it's a little bit less. So these are the Canadian prices, and these are the US dollar prices. So we have options in both. So we did have a lot of people ask for Canadian dollar options as well. So you pay in the currency that you prefer. But in US dollars, it would be $5 US per month, or $55 US per year for just the community portion. Or it's included in your School of Sweet Georgia membership already. And we do have a discount code for anybody who's participating here today, and anybody who's in the current Discord and everything. It's going to be launch. The discount code is launch, LAUNCH, and that will get you 15% off all of these costs. But again, like I said, if you are already a member of the School of Sweet Georgia, you get access to all of the community already. Now, the way that we're hoping to sort of roll this out and implement this over the next sort of coming months is that today we're sort of launching this, and we're going to talk about this and start to share this with everybody and start to post this in the Discord and things like that. And then we will have that first sort of studio meeting on June the 2nd, June the 20th. That's the studio session where we're going to do like the picking the colors, and we're going to be talking about colors and things like that on that day. On June 20th, and then Tour de Fleece starts on July 5th. And so we will have a kickoff meeting on that date, July 5th, and then that kickoff meeting will happen in a live room here in the community. And then the next Multicraftual meetup on July 7th, again, will be in a live room here in the community. And then August 1st, we're going to start doing the Stranded Sweater Knit Along. And again, all of the make along activity in there is going to also happen within the community here. And so over the next, I think it's 3 months, right? 2 months, two months, June, July, August, we will overlap with the Discord server that we have. And eventually by September 1st, we will sort of sunset and shut down the Discord side of things. So that way we can entirely focus on this community and everything that we're building inside the school and the school community. So that is sort of what we're looking at. That's sort of what the plan is. Yes, I'm going to answer some questions here. I'm going to have a look here and see if I can answer any questions that you guys have. Let me just check here. There's chat, and I'm going to answer any questions you have. So Joseph is saying, I don't see anything in the events calendar, and can Can I do that? I don't see anything in the events calendar, and the events widget on the feed page doesn't appear either. Is there a way to turn that on? So I will need to check, but in the sidebar, if you go to events, you should be able to join the events space, and then you should be able to see everything. So I will check on that afterwards to see what is happening there. But yes, you should be able to see the events calendar and make sure that you'll see that. Nina is asking, will the app get better in the future? That is my hope. They are definitely developing the app all the time, and they have been making changes to the app for sure. And I think that this is a company that is under sort of like very, very aggressive is the wrong word, but it's very, very like they're just working really, really a lot behind the scenes to make a lot of improvements. So I have been observing that they've been making a lot of improvements. And so I'm very optimistic that the app will improve over the future. However, I've asked them specifically about the ability to like add our fonts into the app and things like that. And I think that that's a very low priority item for them, because when you start to do things like adding in your own customizations and your own fonts and things like that, it can really start to possibly break the user interface that they've created for the app. So I think that they are keeping the UI of that, the user interface of that app, more in line with what they are creating. But in terms of functionality, I think that there's going to be probably more and more things that are going to come up like that. So that was that one. And then Joseph said that was it. I simply had to join the event space and found from the sidebar. Yay, fantastic. And so that is that. And then Pearl is asking, will the SOS calendar export stay in place, or is there a calendar export using the community that replaces it? So I have found, oh wait, I'll just spotlight this for you. So Pearl is asking about the calendar. So the SOS calendar export will stay in place. So we are continuing to update the SOS community calendar with all the links to where everything is. So anybody who's in the school, on the school forum side of things, that calendar will continue to be maintained, of course, and solid. The SOS forums is super solid the way that it is. There is a calendar export in this community function where if you join, if you basically RSVP for an event inside the SweetGeorgia community on this platform here, it will send a calendar invite to your Google Calendar or whatever you're using for a calendar app. So you'll be able to get that information in your own calendar as well. Hopefully that all makes sense. Yes. Thinking about that SOS calendar export. Yeah, that's all going to be very, very solid. Now, there are updates to the SOS forums that we need to make that we have not yet made. There's like a whole other version that we have to upgrade to, but that upgrade for the SOS forums, I'm waiting for there to be more stability in that build before I make any changes, because I have read things on the tech forums where somebody upgraded and they had to rebuild their entire forum from scratch. So I'm waiting on that one before we move ahead. But there are constant improvements to all of these technologies. So we're working on all of that behind the scenes. Hopefully that helps. Fantastic. So I think that that was all of the questions that you guys had. Unless anybody else had any more questions, I am happy to answer any questions. And I'm going to just check the chat here. But yes, the recording will be available inside the community afterwards. And all of this will be recorded, and hopefully it will be helpful to you. And yeah, there's the DM function in there, so you guys can message me if you have any questions after the fact. And hopefully everybody is finding their way around okay. Pearl is also asking, I am also getting cut off and having to relog into this platform while watching you. Media not supported on Safari. Media should be supported on Safari. I'm currently using Google Chrome. And then we could also try using sort of the app that they have. So they have the desktop app, which is available to download right now, and they also have both the mobile apps, so on iPad or iOS, and we can see if that might be working as well. So this is all a bit of a learning process for all of us as well. So we're gonna troubleshoot for everybody. So please do. We'll figure out afterwards, Pearl. We'll figure out how to troubleshoot so that way you're getting the right experience. Fantastic. Thank you guys so much for joining today, for listening to all of this. And I'm really, really excited to see what we create out of all of this. If you want, I'm going to see if I can. You guys can find us all here. Obviously, we are going to be putting the sweetgeorgiayarns.com/community is where you can join the community if you have not yet. And then otherwise, afterwards, when you log into the community, it will be community.sweetgeorgiayarns.com, and you'll be able to find all of the community there as well. So thank you guys so much for being here today. Please do drop me a message if you have any questions about all of this. But otherwise, I will see you guys inside the community. All right. Thank you. Bye for now. See you guys next time.